I talk a lot about telling the story when it comes to raising money for charity. And it occurred to me, I've never really talked about how you tell a story. So this is what we're going to talk about today. It's how you tell a story. There are three things you have to do very quickly when you're putting a face on the need in your charity. And you cannot delay doing this. It's got to be done right up front. The first thing you have to do is have some sort of hook that catches people's attention, especially now. You know, you've got to stop that scroll. You hear that phrase all the time. So you've got to have something that catches the potential donor's attention immediately. And this can be a picture. That's a really good way to stop the scroll, is a picture with the subject full face on to the camera, looking eye to eye with your potential donor. If it's a cause that doesn't have a face, then make it personal. You know, get right down to showing the damage to one blossom that this chemical spill does. Get it very personal. Put a face on it. That's the first thing. You got to hook the audience. You got to hook the viewer. The best way to do it is with video. Or you can do a call out. You can say, attention animal lovers, or do you hate abuse, or something like that. But that's the very first thing, is to hook the person watching. The second thing is you've got to set the world for them. You've got to explain what world this is that the story is going to take place in. One of the best examples for writers is actually the book, the novel Lonesome Dove. Remember the very first scene, the guy comes up and has to kick the pigs off the porch where they're eating a blue snake. So that immediately tells you a lot about the world this character is in. He's in a world where there's a porch, good weather, there are wild pigs running around, and they're eating a blue snake. Blue snake. I don't know why I think that right. Blue snake. That tells you about him and about the world as you observe his reaction to kicking the pigs off the porch. So for a fundraiser, the world has got to be established, usually through words, supported by the picture, of course, right? If you've used a picture in that first part, then the background of that will help establish the world. The real key to establishing the world is not a complete description of it, but just the right details. Pick out a few details that really create this world that you're asking your donor to join, to identify with. Cracked dirt, stinking cages, trash piled in one corner with roaches crawling out of it. Whatever you can do. Now, don't do overkill on this. Just maybe 2 or 3 physical, concrete details that create this world. Don't say it's an ugly world. Tell me why the world is ugly in this picture. Okay. Then the third thing you have to do is create reader identification with this and convince them to enter this world. And that is the tricky one. It's done by a combination of those two things and by invoking a sense of community within the reader. This is probably the toughest part about it. And it boils down to, why should I care? I mean, sure, there's suffering in the world, but why in particular should I care about this situation? Creating that reader identification. The easiest way to do it is to say, what if this were you? What if this were your child? What if this were your dog? What if this was your house? You can do that, but it's a little bit on the nose, but that's where you're going. Use something like that to create, why should I care? And identification. The other advantage to doing that is that if someone sees a horrible picture, identifies with the world, and then you say, what if this was you? What if this were you? What if this were your family? That creates a little kick of cortisol. It's a threat. What if it was me? Oh my God, this would be horrible. That cortisol creates the sensation that you need to do something. Now, I'm not talking about watching a tornado bear down on you from the window outside, but it creates a need to do something because it feels like a personal threat, which it is, and it's very true. If it could happen to this one person, it could happen to you as well. So that's how you tell the story, how you start the story. You hook the reader, get their attention and stop the scroll. You create the world either through pictures or through details, and then you create reader identification and show them why they should care about this particular cause. Hope that helps. For more information on raising money, please go to jdonate.com. See you there.